Sometimes what your weight loss offering, your weight loss center, your physician's practice, chiropractic clinic, weight loss franchise, sometimes what you need to get out of a slump is massive amounts of action. Massive amounts of action. Now, one thing I've learned in hiring, training, coaching weight loss sales advisors, weight loss counselors, weight loss salespeople, is that the amount of action oftentimes they think needs to take place usually only represents about 10 or 20% of the action that's actually required. And it's not because they have a bad perspective. It's because they're used to judging their outbound marketing activity based on their own consumer responses. What they're failing to understand is that's right. We don't need to call someone like them 20, 30, 40 times to get them to take action, to get them to book an appointment, to get them to come back into the center, because that's just not the kind of person they are. However, there are consumers that are like that, and the key is to separate the fact that I am not marketing to myself, I am not advertising to myself. So what do you do when you need massive amounts of action? The first and foremost is to be making massive amounts of phone calls. Now, massive amounts of phone calls, we have to understand something. Time and time again, we will see people walking around with their phone in their hand, staring at it. I was at dinner with my parents last night. I took 2 of my 5 kids with me. And through the entire dinner, my 2 teenagers were staring at their phone. And they were engaged in the conversation, but they kept looking back down at their phone. And it's not limited to teenagers. It's adults as well. So adults are staring at their phone. So they must be in love with their phones. That's the best way to communicate, to connect with them, to communicate with them. So massive amounts of phone calls. Now those phone calls can take the form of text messaging, it can take the form of blast voicemail, and it can take the form of you making direct calls to consumers. Now, in this day and age, I don't know about you, but a lot of people, I mean, I get frustrated when anyone leaves me a voicemail on my personal line, not the work line, but a personal line. I see who called. I know who you are. I will call you back as soon as possible. You don't need to leave me a 2-minute rambling voicemail as to who you are and what it was all about. So people are used to not checking voicemail in many cases. So my invitation is make massive amounts of phone calls and don't leave any voicemails. Just call, let it ring 4 times. If they don't answer, because every phone is pre-programmed to answer they have the voicemail kick in and kick on after the 4th ring. If they don't answer after the 4th ring, just hang up and go on to the next call. You can dial as many as 25, 30, 35 people in the course of 45 minutes to an hour when you practice that. Now we know the odds are you're not going to reach someone, but that simple act of calling those people is no different than a TV spot, a radio spot, a direct mail piece, an email, something that is triggering in their mind that if they have a need for weight loss, they should reach out to you. You know, consumers can pretend like they don't know who you are or why you called, but sometimes curiosity kills the cat. They just want to call and figure out why you're calling. It's an opportunity you have to engage them on the phone. How many times have you called someone over and over and over again and left the same boring voicemail and they don't respond? Because they know in the back of their mind, if they need you, you will call again in about 2 or 3 weeks, and that will be their reminder to call your weight loss center if they ever need you. So massive amounts of action. Another form of massive amounts of action is passing out flyers. It's the cheapest, most effective thing anyone can do in a center. It does, whether it's you're the ownership or you're a member of the staff or you farm it out to someone. Get out there and drop flyers. Now, there's protocols for all these outbound calls. There's protocols for text messaging. We have the ideal messages that get the highest response rate, ways to link those text messages to some really groovy landing pages that'll get people to book appointments online or at least fill out a form to get more information. We've got the best time of day to call, when you should just call and hang up versus what you should do, what you should say in the event someone does answer. The same thing holds true for flyers. We can give you the hottest flyers that are working right now. What seems to be generating responses from flyers? It all comes down to this. If people don't know you're there, if you haven't shoved it down their throat, stuffed it up their nose, and wrapped your brand all around them, they're going to call someone else. Or worse yet, they're not going to call anyone else at all. Now, you've got two choices. I hear people say sometimes, well, that's kind of aggressive, don't you think? Yeah, it is very aggressive, and that's exactly what you need to do. Aggression is no different than TV commercials running all day long for a brand. Watching the Little League World Series over the weekend. Every nook and cranny of that baseball field had advertisements jammed into it. Some of them superimposed on the screen because it was national ads sold by ESPN and ABC Sports. So there's just advertising in your calls, your text messages, your blast voicemails. Your flyers are just that. They're advertising. So if you're trying to stimulate some revenue in your center, you're trying to jumpstart something, even if you're doing exceptionally well and you want to do even better, you need to engage in massive amounts of action. If you'd like some guidance on that, you could use some coaching. If your team needs some leadership with that, on some tips, tools, recommendations, protocols that are working in other physicians' practices, chiropractic clinics, and national, as well as regional and local weight loss franchises, click us or call us. If you don't know who we are, we're intelliFRAN. We are the only company in the United States that provides operations support, and that means everything from marketing to staff training to everything in between. We are the only company in the country that provides operational support to physicians' practices that offer weight loss, to chiropractic clinics that offer weight loss, and to franchise investors that offer weight loss. If you'd like more information, there's 12 ways to reach us. Click us, call us. Have a great day and enjoy the eclipse.
Let's go.